Oh, hello guys, my name is Jack, and today I'll be doing a review of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the 2023 version A. So it was pretty obvious from the get-go that this title was originally planned to be a DLC for MW2 from the previous year, but then a decision was made to release this as a full title. Jack Reviews! Modern Warfare 3 essentially consists of one of the shortest campaigns in Call of Duty history, 16 maps from the OG MW2 with a fresh coat of paint, and a reskinned DMZ with zombies. Now this kind of offering would normally have been enough to stop players from raising their pitchforks, but the reason why it fails to live up to expectations is because of how recycled it all is. The campaign reuses portions of the Warzone map, multiplayer reuses every launch map from OG MW2, and zombies is just the same mode as DMZ from the last year, but with zombies, eh? Now I don't mind the multiplayer maps, but if the campaign and zombies modes use more original, mode-specific maps and assets, I would have enjoyed it more. But I don't believe this to be a result stemming from a lack of ambition, but rather a lack of development time, and being forced to convert what is essentially a glorified seasonal DLC to be a full-on game, eh? If you're a multiplayer fan, then the post-launch content has been treating you well, or otherwise you're probably playing other games, eh? Alright, let's start with the campaign. It's a hastily put together, meandering mud puddle of a nothing burger, with the Warzone map sewn into half of it, and somehow manages to take 5 hours to complete, eh? The open combat missions take much of the steam away from what was traditionally the fast burn of classic campaigns, instead shoving you into a sectioned off Warzone match with bots. A handful of loot caches in the campaign are kinda cleverly hidden away, but much of it will inevitably go unnoticed due to the lack of replayability it provides, as well as the lack of incentive, eh? The story itself and many plot points feel forced and shoehorned in. One of the few points of closure is given in the mid-credit scene, and everything else is left unresolved, as if simply begging for a sequel, eh? But most of the fans will probably know that bits and bobs of another side story would be spoon-fed to us for each season of Warzone that releases, eh? I never quite liked how you had to stay tuned for each season in order to fully understand everything that's going on, eh? Aside from the open combat missions, the rest of the campaign plays it pretty much by the book, eh? Though none of the missions were particularly memorable. I could not give two jacks about the missiles, eh? The core gameplay of MW3 plays much the same as its predecessor, albeit with health adjustments to multiplayer, a slight perk system rework, and other assorted changes such as tac stance. Overall, TTK is noticeably slower than MW2, which in turn buffs snipers and one-shot weapons while nerfing automatic weapons. Of course, this is a generalization, so obviously that doesn't apply to every gun. All types and weapons are generally viable, except for the MCW 6.8. That gun is weaker than me in a debate with my ex-wife. That being said, multiplayer still remains the strongest of the three modes, and the Riften treatment is only made more prominent with this entry. It is well supported with an ample amount of post-launch updates, while Zombies fans are left begging for scraps, Like with all the previous MP modes, the weapon balancing system has been quite a mixed bag, but I still quite appreciate the gunsmith and firing range, Or the Zombies mode, in my opinion, is a patchwork revision of the beta DMZ mode from the last game. This third mode feels more or less abandoned and featured poor AI balancing at launch. It suffers from an utter dearth of content built upon an already vestigial foundation, Despite having a dedicated and devout fanbase, Modern Warfare Zombies is soulless, tacked on, and a third layer of a derivative game mode, DMZ was simply Warzone with Extraction, and MWZ is simply DMZ with Zombies, The smattering of objectives and goals are repetitive and dull, the mode lacks focus and vision, and all of it is evident of a shortcut, hammered-in development cycle that may as well be asking devs to make a sandcastle out of dust, Now in my opinion, the graphical fidelity of Call of Duty games has been sliding down the slope since MDub 2019, eh? Graphical improvements have been stagnant, and we have been seeing fewer moments that truly wow us, eh? Nothing in the campaign is anything that we haven't already seen, while multiplayer and zombies can have the benefit of the doubt, eh, as they have a different focus. The campaign cutscenes remain at a high level of quality, but the levels themselves barely have any standout moments, eh, except for a handful of set pieces. The open combat missions, however, sit at the low end, especially from a visual standpoint, eh. The UI design remains the same as the last entry, with menus being consisted of blocky, space-taking garbage. It constantly shoves game modes I don't play, bundles I don't want, and news I don't care for into my face, and I'm pretty sure many players are quite sick of this overly aggressive black sale marketing as well. When creating a loadout, you can barely see a handful of weapon options at a time, forcing you to go through multiple menus or scroll endlessly for what you're looking for, eh? Or at least they fixed a lot of the bugs in the camel menu that the last game had. The HUD design is largely unchanged, with slight differences to fonts, icons, and element scaling. Still, the HUD remains clean and visually adherent to the Modern Warfare identity. It doesn't quite have the appeal of MDub 19's HUD, but remains clear, competent, and unintrusive, eh? This is still one of the best multiplayer HUDs COD has had, but lacks design innovation from the last one. This is expected to change in Black Ops 6, however, as Treyarch does plan to implement a highly modular heads-up display. I have no problem with the audio in this game. Personally, I have not run into any egregious issues with footsteps or the like, or with improper audio balancing. I have heard some issues about teammate footsteps being too loud, but I never noticed it personally, eh? Or one thing that could be better is the punchiness of certain guns. A few shotguns in this game feel like they're shooting with a light pop rather than a powerful bang. Otherwise, the music, sound effects, and voice acting are all perfectly fine. It does feel more spacious in a sense than previous titles, but that's not necessarily a good thing, eh? I would very much like to have a more intimate relation with my firearms, but that might be for another day, eh? As of the time of writing, I'm at least glad they've removed the essential installation of Warzone for the COD HQ titles, as well as for Black Ops 6, which I have high hopes for. But having expectations for a Call of Duty title, especially in this day and age, often comes with a disappointing reality, eh? However, I am quite optimistic with what Treyarch have shown us thus far, and as a big fan of zombies, I hope this year's iteration is one to remember, eh? All that being said, I still hold a deep hatred for Call of Duty HQ. It was a great way for Activision to shoehorn in that glorified expansion pack they call the game, but only serves to annoy people in the long run, eh? The bolded, blocked down UI and implementation of COD HQ really dragged this title down for me, as well as how shallow both the campaign and zombies modes are, as they play second fiddle to MP and Warzone. Many of the technical features are still impressive, and the campaign holds up visually, even if it doesn't wow us. While much of it, however, may be attributed to the foundation built upon prior titles, despite this, the lack of innovation and meager offerings make this the weakest mainline Call of Duty I've ever had the pleasure or displeasure of playing, and I wouldn't feel remiss to give this a 3 out of 10 rating. Well, anyway, my name has been Jack. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I suppose I'll see you in the next one, eh?